right. So we're just gonna, maybe we want to, oh, let me go back really quick. Other way. Okay. So just really quick review, I think, of kind of our project and what we are doing here. So we've got our learning that's really happening with our pre-sessions, and then again with our monthly Zoom meetings. We have our project, our LeaDs project, that we're really going to dive into a lot more this evening and get a little bit more clarity and focus, and kind of excited to hear all your what you're thinking and your ideas and where you might be going with this. And then also with Math LeaDs, just we are our math people. And so just having the opportunity to meet together and collaborate together and just really enjoy math and math instruction and doing that together. So hoping that these meetings provide those opportunities as well. So we're going to start off our meeting with looking at that framework for leadership excuse me, I've got like 3 different screen things going on. But anyway, the framework for leadership in mathematics education, and it's 4 guiding principles of empower, advocate, monitor, and design. And we can see these in the little square box there. But thinking about these 4 big guiding principles, they really give us clarity and define the roles and actions that we can take as bold mathematic leaders that will then impact instruction. So last month, we focused a lot on guiding principle 3, that empower and nurture a culture of productive professionalism. And we really looked deeply at examining beliefs and mindsets, building relationships, and then creating those culturally sustaining practices to be able to reflect and refine, and then to go in and implement and continue action and doing things. So today we're going to focus on guiding principle 1, where we're advocating and expecting high quality, equitable mathematics teaching and learning for every student. And this advocacy focus, okay, here we go, is really driven by 2 big ideas: curriculum leadership and instructional leadership. And within each of these big ideas, there are 3 imperatives or commitments to action that we can take. And this year, we're really only focusing on those first 2 imperatives: commitment to self and commitment to colleagues, as they will relate to curriculum leadership and instructional leadership. So these 3 words, curriculum, textbook, and standards, a lot of times we hear those words used interchangeably and kind of to mean the same thing, but they are actually very distinct and very different. So in chat right now, would you take a moment and just match which word goes with which description? So like number 1 would match with either A, B, or C. Number 2 matches with A, B, or C. So go ahead and take a moment in chat and share those. Absolutely. And these are really distinct and really different. And it's important to kind of have that idea of what is what because of how they relate and work with one another. So starting right off, in just a minute, we're going to head into some breakout rooms. And I think we'll just have 2 today, but we're going to do 2 different activities. The first activity will be a sorting activity that's related to beliefs and mindsets about curriculum. And then the second activity, there's some guiding discussion questions to kind of facilitate a discussion about curriculum. And while you're doing that sort, be mindful of framing these beliefs as beliefs that either support productive teaching and learning or that don't, rather than looking at giving them a value of bad or good, but just a belief of whether or not they support it. And so we'll go ahead and, the Jamboard, let me get that link.
So you said 2 breakout rooms?
I think so. And then we'll have a group of 3 and a group of 4, if I'm doing my math right. Okay, there's the Jamboard link in chat. And then whichever group you're assigned to, that will be your Jamboard page. So if you're in breakout group 1, you'll go to page 1. If you're in breakout group 2, go to, all right. So I hope we had a chance to get to some of our discussion questions. And I want to take just a moment and look at that last one. What were some key ideas you talked about that effective math classrooms and lessons would look like and sound like? if we're meeting the needs of every student.
Is that, we're having a conversation here. Can you say that? What are we talking about again?
We're kind of looking at that last question there that we hopefully had a chance to discuss in our groups. But what do we think that effective math classrooms and lessons look like and sound like if we're meeting the needs of every learner? What were some key ideas that came out?
Where is that question? That's what, oh, there it is. Okay.
Am I not sharing my screen?
No, you are. I just was still looking at the Jamboard.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I think we didn't quite get enough time to get to that. We were really analyzing the stickies. So we didn't get a chance to discuss it in our group.
Okay.
So it'll be in a vacuum.
Okay. Did the other group have an opportunity to get there?
No.
Not so much either. Okay. So just, you want to just throw out some ideas? What do you think? What do your classrooms look like and sound like?
I think at some
Giving
point
choice when I can. Oops, sorry, Justine. Giving choice when I can. Give choice, I think, can be a motivator when math feels really overwhelming for kids in general. And then I think one of the biggest things I took away from this program and Principles to Action, and maybe thinking classrooms too, was just building that culture of learning in the beginning and making it okay to fail, and really having those rich tasks that are open-ended, because it engages my learners that know there's an answer and they're not going to get it right. So it gives them an opportunity for there not to be an answer. Then they know they can be engaged and be a part of it. And then they're more willing to jump in later and kind of fail and have it be okay.
I think that there has to be a time when you can do differentiated work, like small group intervention. I don't have that, but I know I'm not meeting the needs of all my students, because we're not, talking about number sense. And I still have, a kid that'll say, I had a student just the other day who said 41 when the answer was 14. I mean, it was written down. So she was reading it. She said 41, which tells me that she doesn't have good number sense about what 14 or 41 means.
Yeah, that's an important component as well.
I mean, depending on what part of the lesson and engagement, like what time you're looking at in your math lesson and math time, I know parts of mine are really loud and noisy because the groups are working, engaged, and just super excited about it, that they're not focused or controlling their noise level. They're just really chatting away. And so I feel like that can have the engagement and getting everyone involved in those math processes, which helps meet those needs.
Thank you. Those were all really good ideas. Thank you for sharing. So in curriculum leadership, our first imperative or our commitment to action that we take as leaders is just helping to ensure that as teachers, we all have that same understanding and that same vision of high quality math instruction, and then the actions that it would take to meet that vision. So have you ever been involved in an organization that's been working to create a shared vision? Have there been any kind of procedures or protocols that you've gone through that might facilitate doing that with the focus on high quality math instruction?
I've been through that several times, but at the moment, I can't really access any concrete descriptions of how we went about it. I know that we did a shared vision, like for our school motto, kind of. And we did like Post-it notes, and then we sorted them, and then we talked about it, and then we sorted them again, and we boiled it down, and we did that just in an afternoon. But then I've also been involved with a nonprofit where we did it and spent months working on it.
Yeah, there's lots of different structures. Thanks for sharing that. And one suggestion, really using this book, The Framework for Leadership in Mathematics Education, on this section of our meeting tonight, they offer a suggestion just like you did of where just kind of brainstorm like we were starting to do. What does good, answering that question as far as what those key points are of what a math classroom would look like, and then putting it all on sticky notes and just like you said, sorting it out, identifying categories, and then working it out that way. Additionally, on our navigation guide, there's a resource that we could use that identifies components of a strong curriculum, and it's on a rating scale, and we could use that to determine how well our curriculum aligns to those components. So if that's something you might be interested in, you're welcome to look at that as well. So once we have developed that shared vision of high quality math curriculum, our next leadership actions will shift to supporting development of mathematics curriculum knowledge. So here are kind of a menu of the elements related to curriculum knowledge. And just take a moment and look through those topics. Are any of those jumping out at you as something that your professional development might align with or focus with?
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. So, when we talk about curriculum knowledge, what is that? And these are elements of curriculum knowledge. And these might be topics that our PD project would align with.
Yeah, that the coherence, alignment of content within and across grade levels based on standards is what I'm kind of working on through my small school, is trying to align our dimensions math with the state standards.
Any other connections you see or brainstorming about?
It is nice when you have like I really like the curriculum that our middle school and high school uses, because it does have a lot of that critical thinking and problem solving, and it encourages group work. So I think that's important when you're, you know what I mean, looking at a curriculum that works, plus how it aligns, like what Pat said, does it align, with everything too? So I feel like those two are pretty strong for me.
Nice. So we can advocate, with any of these topics or any of these elements. We can also advocate within these shifts between what the intended curriculum is. It's that written out guide that we have that aligns to the standards, it outlines the goals, it has those measurable objectives. It's grade level specific, but also that vertical alignment within that curriculum. And then that shift to the implemented curriculum, what is actually really happening in the classroom. And then we can use that attained curriculum to kind of evaluate where are we at in that relationship between the intended curriculum and the implemented curriculum. So we can use this to reflect on. We can take student work and determine if the tasks if they align to the curriculum and kind of, student thinking and what's happening with that. There is also a link on that guidance or our navigation guide, excuse me. It's called the Alignment Protocol that would walk us through that of looking at tasks and see how they might align to the curriculum, which should be built off and aligned with the standards as well. Another way we could do this is to engage in that PLC process where we answer those 4 questions of, what do we want our students to know and be able to do and relate that to our standards? How will we know if students have learned it? What are we going to do if they haven't? What will we do for those students that have? So all of those are structures that we could also use to advocate for that in curriculum leadership. Another really great resource is this is called Math Pact. And there's an elementary book, middle school book, and a high school book. And this really helps to build both a vision and implementation of that intended curriculum. It focuses on vocabulary, representations, instructional strategies, and student engagement in those standards for mathematical practice. And it kind of sets a structure and a protocol for how to create like a whole school mathematical agreement. So those are some ways that we could, some structures and protocols we can use with curriculum leadership. So let's switch now and dive into what are some advocacy opportunities or to focus on instructional leadership. And this really relates to the actions and decisions that we're making related to our planning, the tasks that we're using, student engagement and those standards for mathematical practices, opportunities to reflect on lessons and our student learning. And the first commitment to self is in these instructional actions are really based again on developing that shared vision and that agreement of what high quality, equitable mathematical experiences are, and the belief that every student can learn mathematics. So I think we are kind of familiar with this from our work that we did last year. We spent a lot of time looking at NCTM's mathematical teaching practices. And these are just the research-aligned practices that guide our craft. And we can use these teaching practices in our advocacy work. On our navigation guide, there is a link to a document. It's called Mathematics Teaching Practices Continuum. And this takes each of these teaching practices and places it along a continuum. And we can use this with our teams, with our schools, to just help identify areas of strength or weaknesses that we might have related to our teaching practices. So if you take, oh, go
Can
ahead.
somebody share the link to the
Absolutely. Let me
the
get that.
guide?
Yeah.
Literally can't even remember words today.
That's how I feel. I keep stumbling over my words.
There's my folder. I was like, wait a minute, I have a folder. Let's see if I can find it before somebody even posts it.
It should be in chat for you now.
Oh, yeah. Did the Google Drive?
Ah, did it pull up the whole drive and not the individual document?
No, it didn't. It's in the Google Drive. I was saying, I'm just looking. I got myself to the ISU page. It's on there too, right? Or does it get posted afterwards?
It opens the document.
So take a minute. If you've got that document up, just kind of look over it and kind of think, is this something, or how would this tool, how could it be used, or what potential does it have for you?
So which one are we looking at? I'm so sorry.
No, you're great. It's the Mathematics Teaching Practices Continuum.
Okay, which is different than the book you just had on the screen.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So how might this tool support developing that shared vision and understanding of best teaching practices?
It looks, maybe I'm off base here. It looks like it's shifting from the teacher-led to the student-led and kind of that progression of how you do that in each of those domains. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
And ideally, I guess if it's student-led, then you have that accountability and ownership of learning.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So if we're thinking of, leadership, stepping into that leadership role focused on instruction, and we're using the 8 mathematics teaching practices outlined by National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, how might we use this tool to help develop that shared vision of what high quality math instruction would look like? Or is this something that potentially might be beneficial within your sphere of influence? Or is it not quite meeting the needs? What might be your thoughts on that?
I feel like this is something that I could like talk about with my third grade teaching partner. But beyond that, I feel like I'm not in a position within the school or really kind of our school and district overall right now is not in a position where people would be really sincerely engaged in conversation about this.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, maybe this specific thing where it's like just giving them maybe even just discussing where they would see they're at on some of these I don't know, that might be a first step, right?
I agree, Jennifer. I think that it's just one more sheet of paper for teachers to file away with things on it that you may or may not remember to look at. It's not something that, like, I know what it means and I could try to put it into practice, but unless there's a broader focus that gives teachers actual time to look at this, it's not something I feel like I have any ability to make movement on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think in reality, like the established mathematics goals to focus learning might be, I could maybe get some of my colleagues to do that. But the rest is kind of on them in their own time. Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking too, because my goal is focusing on that, aligning the curriculum through the grades. And I was thinking that our program kind of inhibits teachers with less knowledge or experience from pushing over to the student centered. But I also was thinking too, you're talking about the pushback, but a colleague and I actually had a conversation today that I think everybody in the state of Idaho, I could be wrong, is graded on the Charlotte Danielson model for their observations. And the Charlotte Danielson model is all about being student centered. And so really, like, teachers shouldn't be so close-minded about, close-minded maybe wasn't the right word, sorry. They shouldn't give so much pushback on this, because if that's what we're being observed on or graded on, then that should be a priority to them in all subjects, not just the subjects that are easier for them or the curriculums provides more opportunity for student-driven stuff. I don't know.
But I think that then that depends very much on how your administrators are, how they see it, because
Very
like,
true.
in our district this year, because we have a huge amount of new staff, the administrators are saying just teach the curriculum with fidelity, and teachers are pushing back against that, saying this isn't student centered, it's not doing what we need it to do, and so, but some of the teachers are brand new, some are on, I don't remember what it's called in Idaho, but like an emergency credential. So it's just, I mean, and they're just trying to keep their heads above water. So they're like, okay, I'm just going to follow this curriculum, and then others are like, oh, I just do my own thing all the time, so.
I kind of wonder, like in a PLC, maybe it's not like, I think it's like all things, maybe it's not looking at the entire thing, but maybe you could pick a couple and say, hey, is there something in here that we could work on as a PLC? You know what I mean? That goes with the direction that we're going. Cause I think
Yeah.
bringing it up that way rather than just some big, huge thing. And then you can kind of just pick at it, you know what I mean? A little bit at a time. And maybe I'm off base, but that's my thinking.
I totally agree with you. Our team, they don't want to do anything because they're overwhelmed right now. We've had a lot of changes in our school. but I asked them if I could just give them little things to try out. And so like, I'm going to teach them how to different types of turn-in talks. I can't remember, it's called something special, but like just little things like that, I think can create a shift.
So
Yeah.
one thing to recognize is that the people in this group, I would bet you're fast changers, you're early adopters. So what you're describing as reluctance or resistance means other people are at different phases and different stages. So as a teacher leader, we have to be able to start and support those teachers shifting and changing from where they're at. Just like with our students. I've talked about it. I've failed it epically many, many times because I go in super excited to work with teachers and there's this great thing and then it just flops. And it's not a criticism. It's just that I was at a different place than the teachers were. So how can you, as an influencer in an informal way, start to push that needle, push it and push it. So Charity, you gave a really great example of, okay, well, we'll try this if we can. You know, another thought is just to have a conversation every day at lunch. You know, just bring up what you did, bring up what you did, bring up what you did. Eventually those things make a difference.
I agree. And I also, I mean, bringing up Danielson and things, I think there's things that I feel like we're working on all the time. So I think that's a great way to bring in one of those things and say, hey guys, if we can do, this, then that, this will be a great way for you to hit this on your evaluation, or, you know what I mean? Like, I think there are little things that we can bring up, and I think teachers are open to it. You know what I mean? It's when we know how it feels when the admins throw all these crazy things on top of us. So I think it's finding those things that you're kind of already doing anyways, but you're going to bump it up like to that next level. And then I think that's a segue to build in some of those other great ideas and things.
Great points. And that is a beautiful way to kind of come and summarize all this up, that really that leadership work and that advocacy focusing either on curriculum or instruction. It's just those small little moments and those small little opportunities of shifting and looking at, that curriculum knowledge, our teaching practices, student engagement, and those standards for mathematical practice as well. And that will define and guide our advocacy work. We'll turn it over to Courtney now.
Before Courtney steps in, did we ever talk in one of our sessions about the British cycling team? Did you guys ever learn about that? I see some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you don't. It was in a book, and I will remember the name later, long after this is over. But there was a coach on this British cycling team and they were horrible. The team was awful. They always came in last. They always lost. So he applied a concept that is in business where if you make little incremental changes, I think they call it like a 1% change in each of the categories and in each of the factors, that has a compounded effect. So when the coach took over, they looked at training, they looked at the bicycles, they looked at food and nutrition, and they looked at every single component, and they made one little tweak and then one little tweak, and the compounded effect of those minute insignificant changes had a huge effect on the outcomes, and they started winning races, and people wanted to know what they were doing to start winning those races. I think that's the same thing that happens in schools.
I do remember you talking about this before.
Okay, you see these little seemingly insignificant, we're big picture people. We want those big changes now. But those little insignificant little tweaks make a huge difference. And somebody brought up the new teachers. You know what? My own advice to a brand new teacher is, you know what? Just follow the textbook for now. You've got some learning to do. Just don't live there. Like, don't live there for too long. Get things figured out, and then we'll help you grow. But if you're starting to build that culture of conversation and learning, when they're ready, they might ask you, well, what do you mean by entry levels? What do you mean by question types? What do you mean? You were talking, you're keeping that doorway open so that they can come to the right person, meaning they're coming to you and not somebody that's going to teach them the wrong way.
Okay, do I have permission to share my screen? Let me see.
You have my permission. I just don't know if it, yeah, you should.
Okay, let's see if this,
Not that you need my permission, but yes, you have my permission. Sorry.
okay. I hope we're showing the slideshow. Is that right? Yes. Does it say vision and mission? Okay. I have
Yes.
3 monitors and I get confused. Which one is it showing right now? I have probably, I don't even want to know. I probably have close to like 70 tabs open. So making sure I'm in the right place. But now there, sorry. Okay. So we're going to talk about vision and mission today, specifically related to your project. So I know last time in my video, I mentioned that hopefully you have an idea of what your project is, because that will relate to what we're doing this month. And so yes, okay. So mission and vision, we're going to talk about it generally, and then we'll talk about how it kind of relates to your project. So first, just starting with, these are some visions and missions of some well-known companies and some that aren't as well-known. And so let's just start by looking at number 1. So it says vision to create a better everyday life for the many people. And their mission of this organization is to offer a wide range of well-designed functional home furnishing products at prices so low that as many people as possible will be able to afford them. So does anyone have a guess of what organization this might be?
IKEA.
Walmart.
IKEA, Walmart.
IKEA.
Yeah, okay, you're right. It's IKEA, right? And so isn't it interesting that we could guess that just based kind of on what is their vision, what is their mission? Could you have gotten it just from the vision? I think it's interesting the way they word it for the many people. Maybe that was maybe be a clue, but definitely that mission gave us that clue. So looking at number 2, to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, and then mission to create the most compelling car company of the 21st century by driving the world's transition to electric vehicles.
Tesla?
Tesla?
Is that the electric car people?
Any other guesses? Well, you're right. Yeah, it's Tesla. So let's look at number 3, to be the world's most loved, most efficient, and most profitable airline. So they kind of give it away there. The mission of blank airlines is a dedication to the highest quality of customer service delivered to a sense of warmth, friendliness, individual pride, and company spirit. So guesses on, we know it's who do you think? Say that again.
Delta?
Delta.
Is it Spirit? Isn't there a Spirit Airlines?
Spirit.
Southwest.
Southwest. So I've flown Spirit and it's not so good. So I hope Spirit, because they're not living up to their mission. Anyone else? We have Southwest, Delta, Spirit.
American Airlines? Oh, it's Southwest.
It is actually Southwest. Yes. And so this last one, I'm not going to have you guess because it's an organization I didn't know, but I'll explain why I shared this one. So their vision is one day every child will have the essentials they need to feel safe, warm, ready to learn, and valued. Their mission provides children from birth through age 12 living in homelessness or low-income situations with the essential items they need to thrive at home, at school, and at play. I doubt anyone knows this one, but maybe any guesses? So this is called Cradles to Crayons. The reason I included this one is because it didn't really matter the organization, just based on their vision and mission. I knew a ton about this organization. I really from their mission too. Like I know everything I kind of need to know about it. So if we look at these all together, does anyone see, let's take a second to look at it and then look to see if you see any patterns or anything you see in common with vision and mission, or what do you notice about the vision, or what do you notice about the way they write their mission, really, the way that it's constructed? What are some things you notice?
I feel like it's what do you want and what will you do?
What do you want? Will you do? Interesting. Any
I
other
like
notes?
that because I do kind of feel like a mission is kind of what you're like what you are doing or what you're gonna try to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see the mission as how you're going to do it, and the vision is your vision, your goal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting though, because in some ways, they're like, some of them are very much beyond what the organization will actually do, right? So like the last one particularly, like what they're gonna do about it is awesome, and their vision is awesome, but it's not like that mission is not gonna make that vision happen. It's like beyond the scope of what they're doing.
It's almost like the mission, the vision is pretty bold.
Yeah.
Compared to maybe the mission. Interesting.
It catches your attention.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it captures your attention, definitely. And do you notice anything about even just looking at like word count of vision versus the word count of mission? What do you notice?
The vision is very compact.
And so this is common, but not always. So sometimes you'll see the vision is much more written out, and then the mission is maybe a little bit smaller. But in general, you'll kind of see vision a little more succinct, and then mission a little bit more fleshed out. So I like what you said. Sometimes it could be looked at as the vision is the what. What is going to happen? And this is kind of what you were saying. What is going to happen? And your mission is how. How are we going to achieve that? So if we look at one day, every child will have all the essentials. Well, how are we going to do that? We're going to provide all of these things. This is our how. So that's an easy way for me to kind of think about vision is what do I want? And then mission is how we'll achieve that. So all that we talk about in this, keep relating it back to your project. Okay. So, okay. For your vision, and that's you definitely hit on that. You said that's their vision is way bigger than what they're going to do. So ideally, you do want your vision to be bold and idealistic. Notice if we go back to this, it says it'll have some of those big words. I don't think I have this in the next slide, but things like every child. I mean, really, will every child in the entire world have these things? Maybe not. But your vision, it's okay to be idealistic. Okay, bold. So that third bullet under vision, what would you achieve in a perfect world? What is the dream? Okay. You often want to make it something timeless, that even if time changes, this is still going to be your vision, unless you achieve that mission, which a lot of times they're too bold to maybe be achieved, but you want to make it sound inevitable. Like this is what we want to do. This is our vision. And then make it succinct, a little bit smaller. Like you said, get their attention. It's like your very tiny elevator pitch. If someone asked you and you had 1 or 2 sentences to say what you want to achieve, that's what you would do. And then your mission flows from your vision. So you come with your big, bold vision, but it's like, okay, how are we actually going to do this? All right. You want to talk about how you'll achieve your vision. It could be a few sentences to even a paragraph. Some are much larger, some are smaller. I've seen where the vision is bigger. I've also heard your mission should be 8 to 15 words. I don't know. There's not just one perfect way to do that. These are just kind of general guidelines. And then make it about communication. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But like I said in this last one, they communicated a lot in that mission. I knew what that organization was about. So what I did here is I always tell my students, I do this in math. I do this when I was teaching writing. I taught a lot more at the elementary level. If you're going to do something, I'm going to do it too. So I'd show them a writing sample that I did. We're doing essays. Here's an essay I wrote. We're going to do this math. I've done this math. So I decided, okay, I'm going to just do, it's always good to have samples. And I just thought, oh, I'll write a vision and mission statement for the Regional Math Center without looking at what we had. I later asked Angie, I was like, where is that? Do we have one of those? But I thought, I'll just try it. So I did empowering educators and transforming mathematics instruction in Idaho so that, here's our bold word, every student receives the highest quality math education. Okay, so there's the vision. How are we going to do that? The Math Center is dedicated to fostering dynamic learning environment. Educators are equipped with knowledge, skills, Our mission is to provide resources, empower teachers, inspire a passion for mathematics, contribute to a thriving community. So it's kind of like this list of how this is going to be achieved, right? Let's see. Oh, and then here, what do I have here? Oh, this is just, I'm highlighting here some of the big language so that all students, all educators, okay, talking about that community and then a little bit more with that. Just sort of the what here. So opportunities to support math learning, opportunities for educators to learn and grow, communication. So these are just kind of some examples. And then why is this important work? So kind of opening this up to your thoughts and comment. Why might we want to have, would any organization want to have vision and mission statements? And also why would you maybe want to have that as part of your math, as your project, your LeaDs project?
Probably like anything, like you want to have a goal or a reason why we're doing that project. Like what's the outcome?
Yeah.
Hopefully helps you stay focused, not get off distracted by some other shiny object. I'm good at that.
Well, I think too with this, a lot of us will be working with our schools and coworkers and that sort of thing. And this is something like we can share that might get some of our coworkers on board because they see where we want to go with this and our purpose, and that can get them engaged and excited about it where they're working with us on our project and helping us more willingly than they maybe wouldn't have without it.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I didn't know that.
She is. Oops. I was gonna say, in a not as pretty way as Justine, is that it's an attraction. It like attracts people there to a company, to a nonprofit organization. She made it sound prettier.
Definitely. And so just reviewing some of those, I like all of those thoughts on that. So part of it is owning your why and how. So how are you going to get people on board if you don't even know your own why, your own how? And so if you really own that, how much easier is that to, like you said, get people excited for what you're doing? And provide those guiding principles. So something you can always come back to, like someone said, don't worry about the shiny objects. And you could constantly ask yourself, is this helping my mission and vision? If not, time to reevaluate. Communicate with stakeholders. And so very important that whoever is going to be involved in this, whether it's other teachers, your administrators, whoever, parents, that you can easily share this why and how. Provide a unifying goal. Who doesn't like a unifying goal to bring people together? Rely on during trying times. So I don't know how much this would relate to your projects, but if you think of a large organization, staying true to themselves, even when things are difficult. And this could help you in your project. It can help you even just as a math leader or math teacher, like what is the vision? And am I going to stick to it even when it's not easy? And so part of what you're going to do, let me see what my next slide is what comes is we have vision, from that flows mission, and then goals. So you just want to think about what are your goals, and someone had mentioned that earlier. What are your real goals with your math, with your LeaDs project, and what do you want to achieve? One way you can set goals is SMART goals. I just put this out here as one way if you like SMART goals, because it is a very kind of clear template. But when you set goals for your project, you don't have to use the SMART goal template, but you're welcome to. So if you don't know SMART goals, it's just making sure your goal is very specific. The part I like about SMART goals is that it's measurable, which is hard, but how do you know you're achieving your goals? Is it attainable? So it's kind of a gut check, like, oh, is this too much? Am I taking on too much? Is it relevant? Is it worthwhile? And then is it timely? Is this something I can achieve in my time frame? So what we're going to ask from you is to develop your mission, vision. Ideally, you'd want to start with your vision, go to your mission, and set some long-term and short-term goals that you hope to achieve through your LeaDs project. And so there's a link here, and I think this is on the navigation guide, I believe, that yeah, I'll just take you to, whoops. Can I hit the link? Gonna work here. Okay, can you see where it says Math LeaDs, Vision, Mission, Goals? Am I on the right one? Underneath it's red. It says please
Yes.
make a copy. Okay. So this is just kind of a template to help you work through this. So please, if you use this, delete or make a copy, sorry, first, and then you can delete that after, include your name if you want. And then I just put some things on here to help you remember. So here's some kind of guidelines for vision, guidelines for mission, some examples. And then down here is a place where you can type in your vision, your mission, some short-term goals, long-term goals. And then if you do the SMART goals, you don't need to do this last one, but if not, kind of that measuring, how do you know that you've been successful? What is going to be your markers of success? And so we talked about, I think, Angie, did we say that this would be best in the logic model part of all of that? Where are we? Let me stop my screen share here.
My fault. There's two places that it could be in. It could go in the logic model, but actually I'm getting to a section in 10 minutes or so where it might fit better.
Okay. And so really that page is to help you organize your thoughts, and then it'll go somewhere else in your LeaDs project. And so there might be some time to develop that. I think maybe if we move forward and if there's time at the end, or does that sound good? Okay, but before we move on, Are there any questions about any of that I just went over? Or comments?
It looks like you might have to allow access for us to make a copy of that document.
Okay, I appreciate that, and of course, that always happens, and I'll put, it's in the navigation guide, and I'll put it in the link as well. So I'll do that in just a minute. Let me fix the permissions. Thank you.
It let me make a copy of it.
It did?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
When I click on it, it's shaded, like it's not.
Try
Yeah,
refreshing.
I just made a copy too.
Oh, so it did work.
I still can't. All I can, it's like shaded out. It's not.
Let me double check. That's odd. I have it set to anyone with the link, but you know what? I have viewer, but so once you make the copy, is it editable? Yeah, it is working. So that might be on your end, I'm guessing. It looks like my permissions are in, but let me know if it's still not working. I can send you a different format of it, or you could just copy, literally highlight everything, copy it into a new doc, or just open a doc and follow what's there. But I wanted to make it in that kind of worksheet style, just so I could put some of the parts of the slides there, just so you had that to look at as you work through that. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you. And if you have questions come up, let me know and I'll pass it to Angie.
Okay, so let's take a look. I get my setup, everything. Okay, so we are going to look at our project through a little more specific lens. And hopefully by the end of tonight, you'll have a calmer feeling. How's that? Okay. So one thing that I wanted to clarify is these estimated times, they're really just an estimate, and it can look like a lot and it can be a little panicky feeling. But if you math this out, it's really only like an hour a week at most. It's like 3 hours a month is how it kind of averages out. Let me use the example of the research. I'm going to pull up my notes real quick so I don't forget what I wanted to say, because I live in that world now. So like if we look at the research component where it says 5 hours, think about how long it took you to do your needs assessment. An hour, 2 hours? That's included in that 5 hours. That's part of that research component. So then on the applied research part, you've got, let's say you have 2 of the 3 hours already done-ish for the needs assessment, and you still have 3 hours. Well, it would take me an hour and a half to write up a summary of one article, just because I'm a slow writer and I'm also a slow reader. So, I mean, I read 1 or 2 articles, I write up a summary, and for that research component, that 5 hours is done. So it goes really fast. The planning part, we put in 10 hours, only as an estimate to try and help kind of give you in a window to make sure we put the appropriate amount of time to plan, without having that vision and those goals. A lot of times we develop learning opportunities that aren't sequenced. So we just kind of start planning this and planning this. But if we plan out a sequence, then we get to an outcome that we can live with or that we wanted to see happen. The stipends are basically based around, we're paying you to influence professional learning in your environment. So essentially, if you do the 30 hours-ish, we pay you about $30 an hour. So right now it's sitting at around $900. So I should be able to bump that up to 1,000. But the implementation piece, you'll actually be frustrated because you'll think 10 hours isn't nearly long enough. So these are just kind of guidelines of estimates, and it goes really fast. If you're gonna have, say, a sneaky 30-minute conversation twice a week during lunch, okay, that's an hour a week. Plus, what are you gonna have that conversation about? You're gonna be really selective on what that is. That might take you 15, 20, 40 minutes to say, I'm just gonna bring this thing that I read, that's just a sentence or a couple of sentences. It might take you a little time, but then the question is, how do you know you're having a change? How do you know you're having an impact? It doesn't have to be huge, but you have to think about, how do you know you're having an influence? And it could be like just quiet and sneaky, like you're trying to change the culture. I know that sounds sneaky, that's bad, but it could be obvious where you've gone to your colleagues and say, hey, I really want to do this. Would you be willing to have this conversation with me at lunch? A lot of times they'll say yes, and that's easier to gather some information from. So, we're gonna do kind of like a speed dating discussion exercise. So here's what we're gonna do. The goal of this exercise is it is way more helpful if you can have either a project partner or a thinking buddy. If you're gonna do this on your own entirely, you are invited and you're invited to do that, but it is so much better to have a thinking partner. So the main goal for doing this is to, as you rotate through your partners, you're gonna keep in mind, is there somebody here who I really would like to be my thinking partner? And it doesn't have to be one-to-one, it could be, you know, a group of 3. Some of you already work with somebody right at your school, and that can be your thinking partner, but maybe you want to pair up with somebody that's not at your school. So that's the main goal. Now, if you already know you want to work by yourself or you already have a partner, then the secondary goal is to really hear what other people are doing. It might spark some ideas, it might spark some creativities. The person that you might want to partner with, you can do the same project, but you don't have to. You can do the same project in different schools. Or you can just do different projects, but there's enough similarities or there's a connection there that you just kind of want to have that person be your contact and your thinking partner. Okay? So here's what you're going to do. You're going to get, and I'm going to be like a timer Nazi. You're going to get exactly 4 minutes and 20 seconds. 2 minutes per person and 20 seconds for transition. And as soon as you get with your partner, I'm going to set the breakout groups to be just partners of 2. And I'm gonna put you in your breakout rooms. You each have 2 minutes. If I'm first, both of these are on your navigator guide. So if I'm first, then I'm going to tell you what I would like to influence and why. How do I know I'm going to be successful? What would that look like? And what what ideas do I have for collecting evidence? What do I think I might need? And the listener, you have one response, and that is with this sentence prompt. Well, one thing to think about is, and you give the person a thing to think about. And you got to get it under 2 minutes because then it's their turn. And they're going to answer those questions, and you give them one thing to think about because at 4 minutes and 20 seconds, you'll be switching partners. Ready? Thumbs up. Okay, here we go. I'm going to create your breakout rooms. As soon as I can find them. Let's do this. Okay, 2 per room. If you get a math specialist in your group, then consider it a bonus and you get an extra couple of minutes. Okay? All right, because they don't have a project. Here you go. Open all rooms, ready, set, go, setting the timer. All right, so I'm hoping that was helpful. The next steps are, you can see my screen, right? Did I not share? Thank you. I had everything all queued up. Okay, now you can. Yes? Okay. So, a couple months ago, we had you create folders right here. In the navigation guide, there's a link that will take you right to the participant folders where you can go find the one that you created. In each of your folders, you have master copies of the documents that we're sharing for this project. So, right here, down here on the red, where you've got, sorry, my notes disappeared. That's okay. I'll make do. They're there. So here's where I was thinking that you could put your goals that Courtney was talking about. You have to list your goals anyway. So if you do the goal page that she added, you can either copy it right into this box on the document, or you can just either screenshot or add it as a PDF. This document is labeled on your navigator guide as right here. There's instructions for you right here. Record your goals here. You would click on your folder. Charity, I'm going to use you an example because I know you live far enough away that if you get mad at me, you can't hit me. Oh, wait. Lori, I think you're even farther.
I didn't put mine in there.
I did.
See, charity, vision, math. I
Oh,
already
look
put it
at
in there.
you. You've already got that even in there. So she can pull it right there. And then, in fact, if you do this, then I don't know that you need to actually put it right in your, this is the whole math handbook document. You can, it's nice to have it all in one place. You'll do all the compiling at the end. Okay, so, we're here, your goals go here. When you do your articles and you read them up, this is where they go. Your little write-up, which is less than a page, will go right here under applied research. Okay? Questions about those two components?
Can I have a question? Can I have a question about a prior component?
Absolutely.
Guiding principles and essential actions?
So we really haven't touched on this too much yet.
Okay.
This is making a connection to the framework that April has been preaching, teaching, talking about. We as a team need to have a conversation on, this is not an essential component. Let's put that there. We still need to have a conversation on it. So don't worry about that too much yet.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Thank you for pointing that out.
Angie, the
Okay.
navigation guide,
Yeah,
isn't that normally on the website? Right?
yes, yep. And it is currently there now. So all of this will be, it will be there because I believe it's not a document. I believe we have it mirrored.
So I'm sorry, do I go on the month though? Like it says December 13th, and then should it be there?
It should be there. And I updated this 2 days ago.
I don't know if it's just me.
This is November in two places. So the top November one is actually this December one's information, because that's how I found the navigation.
I was like, dang it, I just did this. I've been forgetting for 2 weeks and I just did it. Okay, I will fix that. Thank you. Good catch. So yes, it's all here. Here's the navigation guide that will take you right to it. Thank you for catching that. That was about to panic and stress me out. All right. Final thing. We have 2 last things, then we're going to let you go. In January, we are not meeting as a monthly meeting. We want to do, oh, stop, Justine. You just stop it. I saw that. You are close enough for me to hunt down, by the way.
I made my kids do laps today for doing that to me. I was like, no, you don't get to say yay when I say.
So I'm gonna make Justine have her appointment with me so that I can keep her 3 hours. So we want to do one-on-one interviews. There's 3 of us. We will send you out like an appointment scheduler. Our Google calendars can do like some appointment times. So we're going to send you some appointment schedulers for some time to meet with one of us sometime in January. What we want you to think about is if you have a planning partner, do you want to schedule that meeting with your planning partner? And what is your improvement plan? So we're going to talk you through it. You're going to talk us through it. We're going to ask questions. We're going to give you food for thought. And then you can write it up and start moving forward. If you're planning to move forward before we meet, that's fine too. Okay, so this one-on-one interview is about 20 minutes, and it's really just a time to sit down and have that one-on-one conversation about how we can support you and what you need and how we can help you with your project. Okay? So if you're thinking right here, if you're already got an idea, Laurie, I heard you kind of explaining, you've already got your plan kind of figured out-ish. You could start typing it up right in that improvement plan box. Okay, remember, it's got to have your goal, your activities, and how are you assessing? How are you evaluating? How do you know you're making a difference and in influencing your peers? Any questions on that?
I have a question about something else. Is that okay?
Yes.
You had mentioned that to write a review on articles or research. Maybe you said something and I missed it. Is that something we need to do on every article we read, or is there like you need to write one review over everything? You need to write 2 reviews?
One review over everything that has to do with your project. So let's say, Lori, I heard you talking about how you're influencing with math facts. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say Lori goes and reads 2 NCTM articles on how to improve math facts learning through number sense. And she gets these ideas for these games. So she's going to reference those 2 articles, write up a paragraph that's summarizing what she learned, and that's it. It can be that simple. It's not intended to be a full master's thesis lit review. Okay. As teacher leaders, yeah, Laurie, are you breathing a sigh of relief?
I thought I saw something about a literature review notes in one of the navigation guides. So I was thinking we had a
Yeah, so I
major
put a
coming up.
link to a lit review if you've never actually done one, but it does not have to be that big. The point that we want this to make is when we're teacher leaders, we need to know what the best practices are. We can't be, preaching the gospel according to Angie. It's really the gospel according to NCTM. And we've got to know what those best practices, and you don't have to read the whole body of research, but you really should make that a common first step in learning more about what you want to teach, whether it's a book, whether it's an article, but it should be research based, and that's why it's built in, but it does not have to be a big thing. Okay, it should be just real small. All right, good question. Any others on this? All right. Some of you are not doing the exit tickets, so I'm going to beg and plead for you to do it right now. And then you're free to go. So we'll just be quiet while you click on the link in the navigation guide. And if you have a question, you're welcome to ask it, but I'm going to have you do the exit survey.